Greetings to all of you. My name is Pastor Yadi, and I'd like to introduce you to a very special lady. Was born much earlier than I was, and I think most of all of us, in the year 1515. And I'm talking about Teresa of Avila. A very interesting woman, if she would live today, a very modern activist, as well spiritual as for the love that she wanted to give, as the very deep intimacy she got caught by Jesus. So her strong longing was that desire to have that. She says, whoever has not begun the practice of prayer, I beg for the love of the Lord not to go without so great a good. There is nothing here to fear, but only something to desire. The first 40 years of Teresa's life gave no clue to the rich depth and productivity of the second half of her life. Born Teresa de Cepeda y Ahumada in central Spain, she spent her early years with her family, giving herself to the duties of extended family life. At age 21, against her father's wishes, she professed vows as a Carmelite at the Spanish convent of the Incarnation in Avila. Still, according to her own account, she waffled spiritually. The convent was known for its leniency, for example, permitting relationship with those outside the convent and allow worldly possessions within. So this was not strange for Teresa, because in some ways or the other she just loved it. And she also loved, when those rich ladies came in, have some gossip. And that's also not strange to us. Teresa enjoyed the convent's indulgences, waned in her devotion, and then a serious prolonged illness from an attempted cure forced her to spend 3 years in relative quiet, during which time she read books on the spiritual life. When she recovered and returned to the convent, she resumed what to her later seemed only a half-hearted spirituality. Of these years, she wrote in her autobiography, A Voyage on These Tempestuous Sea, for almost 20 years, with these fallings and risings. Then only one day, while walking down in hallway in the convent, her glance fell on a statue of the wounded Christ. And the vision of his constant love throughout her inconstancy pierced her heart. Gently but powerful, she said Jesus began to break down her defenses and reveals to her the cause of her spiritual exhaustion, her dalliance with the delights of sin. She immediately broke with her past, undergoing a final conversion. And after this, she began experiencing profound mystical raptures. Though these soon passed, for the rest of her life, she gave herself completely to her spiritual growth and the renewal of the Carmelite monasteries. I like to do with you some meditations. Meditations that Teresa will teach us how to go deeper in the intimacy with Christ, falling into the arms of God. My dear ones, she is saying to us, within oneself, very clear is the best place to look for God, and it is not necessary to go to heaven, nor any further than our own selves. For to do so is to tire the spirit and distract the soul without gaining as much fruit. Teresa well understood that the mystery of the divine indwelling was available to all people. For her, contemplation was not restricted to nuns and monks. Likewise, she believed that engaging in an active life was not confined to those living in the secular world. Teresa's life provides us with an exceptional example of bringing the contemplative and active life together. It displays both a profound internal depth and an exceptionally productive outcome. Of both Jews and Christian ancestry, Teresa de Ayumeda was born in Avila, Spain 1515, where she had the privilege of upbringing and belonged to the Spanish nobility. Societal status was extremely important in 16th century Spain, and Teresa's life was deeply affected by social expectations. She was also greatly influenced, however, by the religious ethos within her, even in her own family. Teresa had no time for this embodied spirituality, and she would frequently say, "God preserve me from saintly people." She displayed much courage, heart, and humor, and was able to balance an active and keen intellect with the surrender of the self in God. This is why I feel that she has much to teach us, that's better saying. Being spiritually principally a people driven by thinking minds we can appreciate and learn from her balanced life of surrender. We can enter into our own innate relationship with God, with simultaneously using and cultivating our intellects to further our work or on earth. Here on earth. Whatever that is designed to be. So let me bring you to the first meditation. I think a lot of us know that she wrote a very beautiful book, how the soul was created and in those different mansions. So let me bring you to the first dwelling, the awakening. For often when a person is distracted and forgetful of God, His Majesty will awaken it. We are constantly being given opportunities to reawaken. That is, to remember who we are, divine children of God. Teresa reminded us that this awakening occurs throughout our lifetimes and is not a once or twice only opportunity. Rather, it occurs every day in our lives. These awakenings come as moments alone or with others, and they are divine offerings from God. In this dwelling, we are introduced to that other reality of our being, the ever-present mystical self. We are asked to look beyond the superficiality, of our existence, and to take notice of what lies deep within. Teresa wrote about the spiritual knowing of our childhood and about how so many of us become disengaged from it. She calls us back to our divine life origins, to great mystery and beauty of our souls. The mystical reality. O children of the earth, how long will you be heard and heart of heart? These words were spoken to Teresa by God when she was questioning the authenticity of her mystical experiences. In probing the nature of reality, we tend to gravitate toward the theory that the common experience should dictate our own. After all, this is what the majority of people are living and experiencing, and therefore it must be true. But what of the rare mystical experiences? The validity of such an encounter needs to be recognized for what it is, a divine gift of love, which expands the human soul, enabling it to comprehend a greater reality. We are all mystics, slowly awakened to the reality of who we really are. And that is, we are the children of heaven and earth, of spirit and matter. We are blessed both with heavenly and earthly experiences. God does not know the differences between these worlds, and we are all being given the opportunity to enter into this unity. If only we will soften our hearts and seize the questions God's infinite ways. The way of mystic is a pathway to experiencing these ways of infinity, a pathway open to all. Teresa describes one of her experiences as a fire being enkindled in her heart, coming, she said, from God's true love. She knew that this was not of her own doing, as she felt it consuming her and burning away all old pains and miseries, and with her soul emerging transformed like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Her soul possessed a fresh purity, and she began walking on the pathway again with new vision. Even so, she questioned its reality. Like Teresa, we too often doubt our experiences that brings us into a mystical closeness with our own souls and with God. The soul contains a complex array of all our faculties, including memories, rational thought, and intuitive and psychic abilities. To have all these faculties come into alignment on an issue is often a very difficult task. For many, the rational mind is dominant, and subsequently it governs the process of interpretation and belief. For a few, the intuitive and psychic faculties are well developed, and so their belief systems has been constructed accordingly, and most people do not experience a balance among all these faculties. The universal paradigm of the mystic, however, is one of unity, encompassing all faculties and realities, both inner and outer. How do we experience this unification that the true mystics experiences? Through surrendering the Spirit, wrote Teresa. The Spirit of God, which is our very spirit, lays all the faculties of the soul to rest in a unified existence of peace and love, and in doing so allows the transformation of the soul to occur. Herein lies the true nature of the mystic, a unity of being known through a spiritual metaphorism. And further, the word mystic derives from the Latin mysterium, which means to be altered. In time, we will come to know our spiritual experiences to be as valid as any other experience in our life. We will no longer think of them as rare occurrence for a select few, but as a natural way of life for all of us. Yes, for all of us. My beautiful people, this is my first meditation that I offer to you. Give yourself time, maybe to re-watch it Maybe you had some notes that you took from this first session, but let it come to your heart. Let it be open yourself, an awakening. And you know that it's not going to happen on this very moment. But believe that God is always willing. God is always willing to give more of His Spirit to lead you on your path. May God bless you. May God protect you from all harm. This is your Pastor Yadi, and hope you come listen for the next. Bye.